All right, let's review. What did we talk about yesterday? I know we talked about some events, form events. First day, we just listened for clicks on buttons. Second day, we added submit event listeners to forms. That's the syntax, right? The thing you want, the thing the event will occur on, dot add event listener, the event you're listening for, followed by the function that should run when the event happens. And some events, including form submissions, have default actions, and sometimes we don't want those things to occur because we want them to do our thing instead, and doing the default action would kind of ruin everything by like refreshing the page. In that case, if we have an event object, we can prevent default, and that event object will be passed as an argument to our event handler every time whenever a function's purpose is to handle an event. It will be passed an event object as its argument, whether we ask for it or not. So if we want to do something with it, we should put it in our argument list and do something with it. To get form data, if you have the form, then you can say dot whatever input name dot value. We did that quite a bit. What's the event target? You remember that? If you have the event object, you can say event.target. What'll that get you? Suppose I've got a div and I move my mouse over it and I have a mouse enter event. What do you think the target of that event's going to be? Doesn't matter that we haven't done mouse events. It's the div, right? It's the thing that the event occurred on. I've got a list item and I click it. Now, generally that doesn't do anything, right? It's not a button. That's okay. You could still listen for a click on that. And the event target of that event would be the li. So the target is whatever the event occurred on. Manipulating the DOM, we've done a few different ways of doing this now. Setting text content, we use the predictable .text content. If it's HTML content, we use inner HTML. HTML is all caps. But if you were very fancy, and I didn't actually look at the code in any of the homeworks, there are other ways you can do it too. You could actually create brand new DOM elements, not as just strings, but as actual JavaScript objects and add them to the page that way. Using document.what to create an element from scratch without using just a string. What do you do? It was right there in the homework assignment. You're wanting to say it, aren't you? Yeah, document.createElement. Document.createElement, just tell it what kind of element you want as a string, like li or div or span or form or whatever. You can create an element that way. And it's a JavaScript object with all kinds of properties that you can set, all kinds of good stuff. So suppose you've got a new element. What do you then do to put it on the page? You can append it to some other element. So say I've got an li and I want to add it to a div. All right, excuse me, an li and I want to add it to like a ul, an unordered list, right? So some element here could be the list. Dot append child and give it some other element like an li. That's how you get it on the page. Because when you first do document.createElement, you've got this new element, but it's just kind of floating in space. It's not actually part of the page. It's not in the DOM yet. It's just a JavaScript object. But after you append it to something that is in the DOM, then it's on the page. Then, if you're very fancy, like several of our students, you can make it look different. How do you make it look different? Supposing you have it as a JavaScript object. DOM elements, when you have them as objects, have a property called style. So some element .style, and then whatever CSS property you want to change. And if it's a multi-word CSS property like background color, you camel case it. In CSS, that would be background dash color. In JavaScript, it would be background capital C color. And just assign the value that way. And you can get to any CSS property via that style property on a DOM element. So today, we're going to do that thing. We're probably going to do some more stuff with functions, because another part of the homework was to break that function, which was probably getting very long, into multiple functions. Who did that part? All right. We're probably going to talk about arrays a little bit, and we're probably going to talk about objects. But when I said this was a presentation full of lies, it's because I don't know for sure whether we get to that today. But hopefully we do. We'll try to do that. So get excited about arrays and objects. Definitely doing some stuff with them. You ready? Questions? Questions about yesterday? Questions about life, the universe, everything?